Albert Wesker is one of the most iconic and philosophically complex antagonists in the Resident Evil series, and also a man who somehow manages to wear sunglasses indoors at night during apocalyptic events as if UV rays are his true enemy. His origin, motivations, and plan to save the world by unleashing a virus combine genuine philosophical ideas with the energy of someone who definitely monologues in mirrors. To understand Wesker, you have to take him seriously, but not too seriously. Origins: the Wesker Project and manufactured superiority. Albert Wesker wasn't just born, he was part of a designer baby experiment before that was even trendy.
A new superior breed of humans, given birth by the progenitor virus. The Wesker children were entrusted with endless potential.
Under the secret Wesker Project, led by Oswell E. Spencer of Umbrella Corporation, he was raised to be genetically and intellectually superior. Basically, imagine being told from childhood that you're better than everyone else, and then actually believing it forever. Unsurprisingly, this gave Wesker a massive superiority complex. While most kids grow out of their "I'm special" phase, Wesker doubled down and added a lab coat. His intelligence and emotional detachment made him perfect for Umbrella, but also the kind of coworker who would absolutely never chip in for pizza. Transformation, death, and rebirth. Wesker's big turning point happens during Resident Evil, where he betrays his team, gets dramatically impaled by a tyrant, and plot twist, comes back stronger thanks to a virus he injected into himself. It's the ultimate "I meant to do that" moment in video game history. After his resurrection, Wesker becomes superhuman, faster, stronger, and somehow even more convinced he's the main character. At this point, he stops seeing himself as human and starts seeing humanity as, well, background NPCs who haven't unlocked their full skill trees yet. Philosophy: evolution through catastrophe. By the time of Resident Evil 5, Wesker's plan is fully cooked, and like a bad recipe, it involves way too much destruction. He intends to release the Ouroboros virus, wiping out most of humanity while allowing only the worthy to survive and evolve.
Your feeble attempts only delay the inevitable. The entire world will be infected. A new Genesis is at hand, and I will be the creator.
A deep psychological reading of Albert Wesker begins with acknowledging that his worldview doesn't emerge from nowhere. It reflects a profoundly pessimistic interpretation of human nature. Wesker sees humanity as self-destructive, irrational, and incapable of long-term survival. From a psychological standpoint, this aligns with a cognitive pattern known as catastrophic global thinking, where complex problems are reduced to a single sweeping conclusion: everything is broken. When people adopt this mindset, they often begin to see extreme solutions as not only justified, but necessary. In Wesker's case, the idea that the world is already destroying itself becomes the foundation for his belief that intervention, no matter how brutal, is the only logical response. This connects closely to themes explored in existential psychology, which examines how individuals respond to a world that often feels chaotic and meaningless. Where most people cope by creating meaning through relationships, morality, or purpose, Wesker rejects these constructs entirely.
Oh, I have my eyes set on something much bigger. You'll be needing a partner, right? Someone suitable to join you in your new world. I believe I've proven I'm worthy, haven't I?
Perhaps you have.
Instead of finding hope in humanity's flaws, he interprets them as proof of failure. Psychologically, this places him in a category of individuals who resolve existential anxiety by asserting control, rather than embracing uncertainty. His plan to reshape humanity is less about evolution and more about eliminating the anxiety that comes from a world he cannot otherwise predict or control. There is also a strong argument that Wesker exhibits traits consistent with narcissistic personality disorder, particularly in his grandiosity and lack of empathy. If someone genuinely believes they are superior, they may begin to see themselves as uniquely qualified to make decisions for everyone else. This creates a dangerous feedback loop. The more they believe in their superiority, the easier it becomes to justify harmful actions. Wesker doesn't just think humanity is flawed. He believes he is the solution. From his internal perspective, releasing a virus isn't cruelty, it's responsibility.
Why are you doing this? What do you accomplish by unleashing Ouroboros?
Every day, humans come one step closer to self-destruction. I'm not destroying the world, I'm saving it.
This is how morally extreme actions can feel psychologically correct to the person committing them. At the same time, Wesker's reasoning echoes distorted interpretations of natural selection. He assumes that by accelerating evolution through catastrophe, he can produce a stronger species. Psychologically, this reflects a human tendency to oversimplify complex systems into controllable models. Evolution, however, is not a goal-oriented process. It doesn't aim for perfection, and it certainly doesn't guarantee improvement. Wesker's belief that destruction will automatically lead to advancement reveals a cognitive bias known as teleological thinking, where processes are assumed to have intentional outcomes. In reality, his plan could just as easily result in chaos, regression, or extinction. Another layer of analysis involves moral disengagement, a concept studied by Albert Bandura. This process allows individuals to justify harmful actions by reframing them as serving a higher purpose. Wesker accomplishes this by redefining mass death as selection and global catastrophe as rebirth. By changing the language, he distances himself from the emotional weight of his actions. Psychologically, this is a powerful mechanism. It allows someone to commit atrocities while maintaining a sense of moral clarity. If the world is already doomed, then in his mind, he isn't destroying it. He's accelerating an inevitable process and giving it direction. Ultimately, the question of whether Wesker is right depends on how one interprets human nature. If humanity is truly incapable of change and destined for collapse, then his logic gains a certain cold consistency. But psychology overwhelmingly suggests the opposite. Humans are adaptive, cooperative, and capable of growth, even in crisis. Wesker's conclusion is not an objective truth. It is a reflection of his own psychological framework, shaped by isolation, superiority, and a need for control. In that sense, his plan doesn't reveal the inevitability of human destruction. It reveals what happens when someone loses faith in humanity and replaces it with faith only in themselves. In Wesker's mind, this is just speeding up natural selection. In everyone else's mind, this is what happens when someone reads one biology concept and decides they're qualified to reboot civilization. It's basically Darwinism, but with dramatically more explosions and leather coats. Ethical analysis. Can Wesker be justified? Wesker's ideas echo social Darwinism, which sounds intellectual until you realize it's often just a fancy way of saying, let's make terrible decisions with confidence. While he frames his plan as necessary evolution, it collapses under scrutiny faster than a zombie in a cutscene. First, survival doesn't equal superiority. Sometimes it just means you got lucky, like finding ammo in a Resident Evil game when you're down to your last bullet. Second, his plan removes all human choice, which is ethically questionable at best and villain monologue material at worst. And third, giving one guy the power to decide humanity's fate is generally a red flag, especially when that guy wears sunglasses indoors. Psychological dimension, God complex and isolation. Wesker's philosophy isn't just intellectual, it's deeply personal. Being raised as a chosen one and then gaining superhuman abilities didn't exactly humble him. Instead, it gave him a full-blown God complex, the kind where you don't just think you're right, you think the universe agrees with you. He also has zero meaningful relationships, which probably doesn't help. When your social circle consists of people I will inevitably betray, it's easy to lose perspective. At some point, his plan starts to feel less like saving humanity and more like winning a very intense solo game of SimCity Apocalypse Edition. Counterpoint: is there any merit? To be fair, Wesker isn't completely wrong about humanity having problems. Issues like overpopulation, environmental damage, and inequality are real. The difference is that most people suggest solutions like policy changes or innovation, not release a global extinction virus and hope for the best. His core idea, that humanity must evolve, is reasonable. His method is less so. It's like noticing your house is messy and deciding the best solution is to burn it down and rebuild. Technically effective, but wildly disproportionate, and also illegal in several countries. Narrative role. Why Wesker resonates. Wesker stands out because he isn't just evil for fun. He has a vision. Unlike villains who want chaos, he wants control, structure, and a better world, as defined entirely by him, of course. This makes him more compelling than your average monster, even if he does occasionally sound like he's auditioning for most dramatic speech ever. His conflict with Chris Redfield represents two opposing views: Wesker's ruthless evolution versus Chris's belief in human resilience and teamwork. It's basically brains versus biceps, except Chris also punches boulders, so it's not exactly a fair intellectual debate. Conclusion: savior or destroyer? Wesker sees himself as humanity's savior, but his plan would likely destroy everything that makes humanity worth saving: culture, relationships, and the ability to enjoy a normal day without dodging bioweapons. His vision of evolution is less about progress and more about control. In the end, Wesker isn't a misunderstood hero, he's a cautionary tale. He shows what happens when intelligence, ambition, and ego combine without empathy. Also, he proves that no matter how powerful you become, wearing sunglasses 24/7 does not automatically make your plan a good idea.
More and more, I find myself wondering if it's all worth fighting for. For a future without fear? Yeah, it's worth it.